Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Uh, Thank you for coming back. I was away for a while. Uh, I was busy with some personal items and family issues, so I'm back. I'm still around. Thank you for joining me. So a lot of things happened since uh, we discussed some news in the last 3 days. So TDF oil still moving forward with their plan uh, of capturing more cities and towns and removing these dictators and the Prosperity Party agenda from Ethiopia. So the following cities taken by TDF oil forces. It's confirmed with different media outlets. Uh, Mahal Meda, Shoar Robit, Warra Ilu, and also Jama Dogolo. So these are, according to different media outsources, they are taken by TDF and oil forces. Now, they are marching toward the city of Awash Arba, very strategic uh, area, very strategic city, uh, which can open a, a road toward Adama and Debre Zeit, where the Ethiopian Air Force is based. So these are major developments. The Prosperity Security Forces, the Army, the Prosperity Party, those who are jumping up and down and singing to fight or encouraging others to fight. All of them fled the cities I mentioned, especially Shoa Robit. So now they are in Debre Sina and Debre Brahan. They are now singing and jumping and getting ready for TDF oil to come over there and take over these major cities. So Awash Arba is the next target. They are already very close to it. I think, according to some media, they are already entering Awash Arba. The Mille front is still heavy, very tough fighting. The Afar uh, militia, Amara militia, Fano, the federal forces, the militias they brought from different uh, regions, very heavily armed area, very concentration of military weapons. So still, it's not a breakthrough in that front. But now they are moving from a different direction. They are heading in a different direction to Addis Ababa or Finfinne. Uh, the other thing is the mass arrests of Tigrayans and Oromos continue in different parts of Ethiopia, especially in Addis Ababa. Despite the call from different international organization countries, the mass arrests still continue, just by for being Tigrayans or for being Oromos. So that's still continue. I have some list for Oromos taken into custody by Abiy Ahmed security forces. I will share OMN media news on that one. The peace effort, the mediation effort, is still ongoing. Jeffrey Feltman is in Ethiopia. Obasanjo came back to Ethiopia. So the back and forth uh, is still happening. Secretary Blinken was around, but you know, ignored Ethiopia, visited Kenya, Senegal, and Nigeria. Ethiopia was number one before. Under Abiy Ahmed, Ethiopia is nothing now. Ethiopia is nothing. Ethiopia is isolated thanks to Abiy Ahmed leadership and those who are supporting his policy, fake prosperity agenda, and nothing prosperity, nothing that makes America and the West jealous. So the peace effort is there, and the preparation for war, the propaganda, forcing citizens to make, uh, food and forcing them to contribute for the military effort still continue by Ethiopian government. So in one hand, they, uh, telling those international mediators they are showing some interest. In another hand, they are still continue their effort, the war effort, galvanizing all the resources they have in that country. So there is no ending sight. There is no ending sight for the bloody war in that country, and the global community and the Ethiopians, we do not know how many thousands and thousands of Ethiopians are dying under Abiy Ahmed, because international medias are, considered as fake news. Heavy propaganda is, against them, against CNN, against BBC, against Reuters. So very, very tough propaganda against them, against this international media. Local medias, they don't report about the war. The only thing they report is victory, fake victory to Ethiopians and to the global community. And those who are challenging the government, they are already shut down. So there is no news. There is no news about the reality on the ground, especially about the deaths and the destruction of properties. So in some area, internet is shut down, no communication, and now Ethiopia also have another law uh, to restrict, uh, communication. So it's very tough, and we don't have that much access about, especially for Ethiopians losing their lives. We don't know because, as I said, international medians are banned from reporting from the war front. So we don't know. We just, in the dark, and just continue the bloodshed, and there is no ending sight except if TDF and OLA removed this prosperity party from Ethiopia and form a better system. All these federalists, confederalists coming together and form a transition government to end this bloodshed and the war taking so many lives and causing heavy magnitude of property destruction. So I hope it will end soon. So that's the war. The peace effort continues, and Jeffrey Feltman and Obasanjo, Secretary Blinken, and AU, European leaders, all are attempting to end this war, but no ending sight. And so we are still waiting for Feldman if he will be successful in convincing Abiy Ahmed to leave the country and open the door for dialogue and transitional government. So we're just waiting. According to several media outlets, he refused to give up. He determined to continue the bloodshed because he's not dying. His children are not dying. They are in a safe zone, so he don't care. about these poor children. Okay, that's just a review of what's happening. Let's read. Let's see some names or men shared today, and using the excuse of emergency rules to arrest Oromos, Tigrayans, and brutally kill anyone or confiscate any property they want. So I just want to share some of the names of the people, the Oromos. These are the Oromos arrested by Abiy Ahmed security forces. Let's listen. Then I will read some news. Then I will share other videos at the end.
Adda durummaadhaan miidiyaa irratti kan inni xiyyeeffatu waggoota sadan arfan darbaniif bulchiinsa Abiy Ahmed irraa kanadha kan nuti arginu. OMN irraa jalqabe akkuma tikaaste ammallee gaazexeessaa Mallasaa Dirribsaa fa'aa hidhaa jiru. Gara OMN fa'aa itti ce'ee
waaqoloolee fa'aa ammallee hidhaa jiru. Addis
Standard fa'aa Awuloo miidiyaa fa'aa inni kaan cufamee cu'aan
hafee kaan immoo deebisee akeekkachiisaan
Addis Standard akeekkachiisaanii banamanii ammas gaazexeessitoonni OMN biqilaa amanuu fi dachaasaa wiirtuu jedhaman humnoota tikaa mootummaatiin labsii yeroo muddamaa bu'uura godhatanii qabamanii hidhamuu isaaniiti kan dhagahaa jirru sanarraa dubbannee
gaazexeessota Oromiyaa News Network ONN malees namoota sabboontoti lammiilee Oromiyaadha kan suuraa isaanii argitan kunneen kutaa Oromiyaa
taken into custody under this emergency rule.
Yaazoo Kabbaba Qondaala Dabalisummaa Oromoo Caaltuu Asfaaw Bilisummaa Mangashaa Maarqos Gannati kun atileeticha. Atileetii naqamtee tokko. Kabadataa Hundeessaa Shaalloo Nadhii Baddiluu Hundeessaa Hawwii Baddiluu Ayyaantuu Baddiluu obbo Nuguseetu fa'aa warri jedhaman murna biyya bulchuun hidhamanii akka jiran qondaalota adda bilisummaa Oromoo irraa argannee jirra. Egaa maqaa labsii yeroo muddamaa jedhuun amma namni bakka garaagaraatti jumlaan hidhamaa jumlaan rashanamaa kan jiru.
Ayyaa akka waliigalaatti Itoophiyaa keessatti diinagdeen butuuttee jirti. Jechaan aadmalee bakka garaagaraatti fuula akka garaatti hidhaan gaazexeessota dabalatee bakka adda addaa jabaatteetti fuuftee jirti. Gaazexeessitoota miidiyaalee irratti xiyyeeffachuun mootummaan Itoophiyaa ammallee warqaan himachuu jira. Itoophiyaa wal taraarsuuf dhaabbileen gugurdoon yookaan ergamtooti gugurdoon Jeffrey Feltman akkasumas Olusegun Obasanjo ammallee Finfinneef Maqalee jiru. Gareen TPLF dura dhiibuu jirti. Kiiloomeetira 150 gad Ollaa Biraan Birruufaatti argamu. Warri kun gammaa taraariin fudhannaa jira. Mootummaan Abiy Ahmed ammoo du'ee dhabamaa waachifuma jira. Dubbiin Itoophiyaa jabaatteetti fuuftee jirti. Mootummaan naannoo Amaaraa waluma galatti naannoo godinoota 4 qabaman keessatti birri Itoophiyaa biiliyoona 220 qabu dubbata. Itoophiyaan qaama akkana kee jirti yaa huncuuf.
Okay.
Oromiyaa Miidiyaa Neetwoork.
So talking about the mediation efforts conducted by Feltman and Obasanjo and the economic cost of this war about in Amara region, the mass assassination of Oromos, mass arrest under this emergency rule. So they are, these are the some of the names they mentioned on this media, about almost 12 individuals. These are OLF members, media members, arrested under Abiy Ahmed. So they are, conducting this mass arrest to intimidate people, to threaten people, and to infringe in their liberty, freedom. So this is only targeted Oromos and the Tigrayans at this time. So it's continue. It's never-ending sight, despite all the calls against it by international community. Okay, let me read a couple of news, then I have more videos to share. So this is a new rule by Ethiopian government on technology possession. Thanks to Addis Standard, I got this one from Addis Standard. INSA urges local foreign institutions, embassies, diplomats, public-private security agencies to re-register communication equipment in 15 days. Information Network Security Agency, or INSA, said in a statement that individuals, security agencies, embassies, diplomats, local and foreign institutions should re-register within 15 days communication equipment, which it said are part of a necessary precaution to prevent the threat to Ethiopia's existence, the threat to its territorial integrity and its sovereignty. It's a big claim. INSA said although the IT has been registered and supervising information and the communication device in the country in accordance with the powers and the responsibility of the proclamation, it has been able to determine, based on the current status, to re-register these devices in order to prevent them from being used by terrorists and their accomplices. We therefore urge any individual, institution, embassy or diplomat, public or private security agency, importers and exporters involved in the communication and the communication equipment listed below to notify the Information Network Security Agency within 15 days. 1. Military reconnaissance equipment, binocular, compass, GPS device. 2. Military and civilian communication equipment, walkie-talkie radio, satellite phone. 3. A very small aperture terminal, or VSAT, and broadband global area network, BGAN. Drones. Number 4. INSA also urged anyone who has seen the use of this communication device in the hands of individuals or institutions to contact the agency. So they are calling for citizens to spy on individuals and report if they see anyone with drones, anyone with compass, walkie-talkie. So Ethiopia is frustrated. Ethiopia leadership is frustrated under Abiy Ahmed leadership. They don't know what to do. They are nervous. They are very nervous. They are very nervous. They terrorized the capital city, especially the residents originated from Tigray ethnicity, Tigrayans and Oromos. So they are frustrated. They are, they don't know what to do really. They're scared. They're scared. So they are conducting anything, creating new rules, and under the claim of sovereignty and territorial integrity, all these claims, they created this chaos in that country, and we, concerned citizens media repeatedly call on it before even it reached this level to, to resign this prime minister, and but they didn't listen. They keep going. They supported him. Now they took, he took the country into downstream, and terror now to all residents. And the other thing is, they are still calling on, they are calling these TDF oil forces terrorists. So how the government can negotiate with terrorists? How these mediators can successfully bring this group together. Number one, it should be the priority to remove this name, the blacklisting first, because it's impossible to negotiate with a terrorist. That's what they said. The Ethiopian government said repeatedly. How can we be forced to negotiate with a terrorist? Now they have indication. They are showing some interest to negotiate, even though other parties, especially the Amaras, they don't want to do it. They want to continue the bloodshed, despite their strategies losing. So I think TDF OLA, they should demand first for the removal of that labeling, that blacklisting first, before they sit down with Abiy Ahmed and or any Prosperity Party officials. If they are successfully to sit down, that must be the first thing to demand. Remove the name, the terrorist name. They rush through the parliament without any discussion, without any question. So that should be removed first before any dialogue to start. And after that, if that one is removed, the second demand is Prosperity Party to ban in that country. Prosperity Party created chaos, bloodshed, and it should be banned in Ethiopia, really. These are not new parties. These are the parties in that country for the last 27 plus the last 3 years after uprising. So they have too much blood in their hand. They should be banned, and a new transitional government should be formed with the help of all other peace-loving, parties. Okay. United States condemned violence against peaceful protesters in Sudan. This is a press statement from U.S. State Department. The United States strongly condemns the violent crackdown by security forces against peaceful protesters on November 17, which resulted in at least 17 deaths and scores of injuries. We express our condolences to the families of those who lost their lives. This follows several other instances of violence against peaceful protesters since the military seized power on October 25. We call for those responsible for human rights abuses and violations, including the excessive use of force against peaceful protesters, to be held accountable. In advance of upcoming protests, we call on Sudanese authorities to use restraint and allow peaceful demonstrations. The Sudanese people have the right to peacefully assemble and should be free to voice their opinions without fear of violence, reprisal, or recrimination. We stand with the people of Sudan as they seek to bring the country's democratic transition back on track. We once again call for the immediate restoration of Sudan's civilian transition to democracy, including the return of Prime Minister Hamdok to office and the release of those detained since October 25. Okay, this is the last one. Secretary Blinken meeting with Senegalese President Sall. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Senegalese President Macky Sall reaffirmed the United States-Senegalese partnership today in Dakar. Secretary Blinken and President Sall discussed shared global priorities of ending the pandemic, reigniting inclusive economic growth, and strengthening democratic governance and respect for human rights in the region. The Secretary applauded Senegalese leadership on a range of issues in Africa and discussed deepening security cooperation while working together to meet the challenge of climate change. So that's a readout of the meeting of Secretary Blinken with the Senegalese president. Thank you for joining me again. Let's do a couple of videos, then end today's presentation. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Just a minute. There we go.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken has received a warm reception at each stop on his first tour of Africa, including from Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. Blinken made clear that the Biden administration values Nigeria and the whole African continent as a major geopolitical player and a partner on the world stage. But he also waded into the sensitive issues such as reining in sometimes brutal security forces and respecting human rights.
Americans and Africans share a yearning to live in places where their rights are respected, their voices are heard, their governments answer to them and deliver for them. Working together, we can support democracy in our countries and around the world.
Last month, Nigerian youths held memorial protests in Lagos and Abuja, 1 year after security forces violently suppressed mass protests against police brutality and bad governance. Blinken's focus on governments delivering for their citizens was warmly welcomed by Michelle Gavin, Senior Fellow for African Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations.
We need to start thinking bigger when the U.S. government talks about governance. It's not just the modalities of elections, really, but governing capacity, service delivery, right? Government that actually works for people. And when it doesn't, that can sort of be reprimanded at the ballot box and move in new directions.
In a major speech on Africa policy, Blinken addressed the real competition between America and China on the continent, but said that was not his focus.
The United States doesn't want to limit your partnerships with other countries. We want to make your partnerships with us even stronger. We don't want to make you choose. We want to give you choices. Together, we can deliver real benefits to our people on the issues that matter most to them.
Blinken began the trip by reinforcing strong American ties with Kenya and joint efforts to reach a ceasefire to the fighting in Ethiopia. One expert argues that Africa should not be viewed simply through the prism of countering China's influence. Former U.S. Ambassador and former Assistant Secretary of State Johnny Carson spoke with VOA.
I think there is a fundamental difference between the policies being advanced by the Biden administration and the policies that were advanced by the last administration under Secretary Pompeo and former President Trump. The United States under the Biden administration values Africa as an important partner and on global issues ranging from climate change to human trafficking to strengthening our economic links. So it's an important relationship.
Blinken's last stop is Senegal, a predominantly Muslim democracy viewed by many as an island of stability in an increasingly insecure region. Cindy Sain, VOA News.
Okay, that's VOA on Secretary Blinken trips of Africa.
I've spent centuries evolving with
Okay,
the
this
world.
advertisement.
Some changes made me stronger, others weaker. That's the nature of
Thousands of people, many of them far-right supporters, protested in Austria's capital, Vienna, on Saturday, a day after the country's government announced strict new coronavirus restrictions, another lockdown and compulsory vaccination next year. Noisy crowds, cheering, whistling and banging drums, streamed into Heroes Square in central Vienna. Many protesters waved flags and carried signs with slogans such as "No to vaccination" and "Enough is enough." "I want my freedom back," says this woman. "One would think we live in a democracy, but now this is a coronavirus dictatorship." Roughly 66% of Austria's population is fully vaccinated against COVID-19, one of the lowest rates in Western Europe. Daily infections are still setting records there, even after a lockdown was imposed on the unvaccinated this week. That led the government to announce on Friday that Austria would go back into lockdown on Monday. Vaccines will be compulsory as of February 1st. "We are against the lockdown and the Austrian government policies as far as the coronavirus goes. This has been going on for 2 years and there is no end in sight. Something new is announced every day and we don't know what we can believe anymore. That's the situation." Many Austrians are skeptical about vaccines, a view encouraged by the far-right Freedom Party, the third biggest in parliament. The FPO had already been planning a show of force in Vienna on Saturday, when Friday's announcement fired up its base. Although party leader Herbert Kickl could not attend because he's caught COVID-19, thousands answered calls by the FPO and other vaccine-critical groups to protest across the city. Most protesters who spoke to the media, including the ones in this report, declined to give their names, though the mood was festive.
Okay, that's Biden, President Biden
Power vested in
pardoning
me as President of the United States, I pardon you. You don't
Turkey.
have to get up here. Well, I pardon you, kid. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, that's the last video I have for today. Thank you again for sharing your time with me. So the funny thing I heard this week is Ambassador Dina Mufti answering the question about Kombolcha and the Desi. He was asked by, journalists who participated in that briefing, and he, asked about who control Kombolcha and the Desi. His answer was he doesn't have the information who is controlling Desi and Kombolcha. So this is the kind of leadership we have under Abiy Ahmed. They don't care about lying. They don't feel anything, nothing to shame about. They don't feel nothing. And they are using lying as a strategy. So that's why I say in many areas, Prosperity Party under Abiy Ahmed leadership is not a viable party. It's not, a hopeful party for that country. They just Lying. How can you negotiate with liars? Those doesn't have credibility. Those use lies as a strategy to lead that country. And the senior officials lie, and those who are following and the supporters, they lie. So, including religious people, individuals, they lie. They lie. So lying is became normal under Abiy Ahmed leadership. That's why it was, Concerned Citizens Media, said repeatedly, please remove this party. Please remove the leadership of Prosperity Party and make them accountable for all the suffering they created in Ethiopia, all the killing, the bloodshed, and for all denying the truth about what's happening in Ethiopia to Ethiopians and to the global community. This is horrible, looks ugly, and then Ethiopians are, silent. One lie that should be enough for demanding resignation of these officials, but no accountability, no rules. These people, they do whatever they want to do. They can lie. They can ignore it. So nobody asked them. Dina Mufti, he will come back every news briefing and lie. Who gonna ask him? Who gonna challenge him? Nobody. So that's the situation we are. But that's all I have for today's update, and I will be back with other news. Thank you again for sharing your time. Please subscribe, like, comment on my video, and I will be back before Thanksgiving. If not, happy Thanksgiving for those celebrating. So long, everyone.